Yeah, we
Awesome.
hear you
Awesome.
well.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
I'm Shantanu Gadgad. I'll be the MC going ahead. I've been using HashiCorp products since 2016, Terraform, Packer, Consul, Nomad, and Vault. Haven't had a chance to play with Waypoint and Boundary yet, but hope to get there soon. With that, we'll start the next session. It's going to be Sachin Gowda. He's going to show us the setup of an infrastructure for HashiStack, Terraform for provisioning, and Nomad, right down to Nomad for running the jobs, and anything in between like secrets with Vault and policies for security. So take away, Sachin.
Yeah. Hi guys, can you hear me? And let me just
Yes, we can hear you.
share my screen. Yeah. Can you see my screen as well? Okay. So I think I get
Yes.
started now. Yeah. Thank you, Katie. Yeah. So thing I want to talk about is this talk is going to be about the combination of all the tools. I think we've heard a lot of talks about Terraform and other stuff. So this is just going to be about the complete Hashi stack, which is Terraform, Vault, Consul, Nomad, the whole setup and what it gives us together. And spoiler alert, it's understandability, but I'll try to explain what that means throughout this talk. And yeah, so the thing is, this talk is going to be for people who have started out, right, and who want to know what orchestration is and stuff like that. So this is not going to be a deep dive. It's just going to be an overview of all of them, so that once you get an understanding, you can pick them up and go deep into them and then start building. So this is just to give you a flavor and like whet your appetite on the whole thing. Sorry. Yeah. So the first question is, what is orchestration? So yeah, I'm going to cover what is orchestration, just the plain definition of it, and then how Terraform, Vault, Consul, and Nomad play a role in this whole thing, right? And yeah, yeah, orchestration. Yeah, when I first heard the term, I was like thinking of like some composer or some big symphony playing music or something really complicated, right? That's the first thing that comes to our head, and it seems very complicated. And for computer scientists, the first thing that comes to our heads is maybe Kubernetes or something like that, which can seem very, what do you say, daunting and complex to understand and get go. So I think HashiStack and Nomad helps us like make this very approachable for everyone, not just for people who've been there for a long time, and even newcomers can get started and play with it very easily. Yeah, and according to Wikipedia, this is the definition. In system administration, orchestration is the automated configuration, coordination, and management of computer systems and software. Right? So it's not just the applications, it's about the configurations, the secrets, where they're running, and the whole process behind it is technically what we're trying to address here using orchestration. And it may seem challenging, but these tools actually make our job way more easier and helps us understand what's going on. And I feel that's one of the most important things that can help you build them also easily and then extend them to your use cases. Yeah, so the HashiStack, like again, this is Terraform that will help you set up the infrastructure, security by Vault for all the secrets that we need, like DB credentials and stuff. Then we have Consul, which will connect everything together for us. And then Nomad will help us run the applications on top of all of this, using them together. So Nomad acts like the glue that connects all of like Consul and Vault, and then helps our application run using these tools. Okay, then let's get started with Terraform. I think we've heard a lot of Terraform, but I'll just give a brief overview. Like they say, it's an infrastructure automation tool, and it follows IAC, which is infrastructure as code practices, and it is very good in terms of for developers or anyone using it to build infrastructure to know what is happening, right? It is code, so all of us are used to it, and we can just see what is happening there. When you just read the code, right, you'll know what is happening. Like, you know, you have these VMs, you have these databases, and you have these network setup. All of that is readable and it is very easy for us. And And there are the two commands that are Terraform plan and Terraform apply, which helps us know if something goes wrong and how to fix it. So Terraform plan, the command when you apply it will let you know if something has gone astray in your infrastructure. If you're just running, like trying to run the code a second time after, say first you run it, you like deploy your infrastructure, everything is running, and then you come back the second time and you're not sure why something is not working. If you just try Terraform plan, it'll let you know if the infrastructure has drifted, if something has gone wrong and something's been deleted or something like that. And it's very easy to know what is happening in that point of view. And this is just a simple example of how the file looks. And this is HCL. And yeah, they have support for variables and then getting outputs from another resource and putting it into a current resource. It's very user friendly to code, and it's a very useful language, and it's very easy to understand. It's almost readable. Right here, it's just an AWS instance. So we know it is they're using an AMI, what's the instance type. We can configure everything and then build it out. It is very easy for us to understand what is happening. Yeah, so that was the section of actually starting the VMs and the other infrastructure required to run our applications, right? Our applications need to run on something. So Terraform helps us with that. Now, the next section is we require some secrets, no matter the application. Like even if you just have a server and a DB, you need DB credentials for your server, and you may need TLS certificates for the server, right? So we need a way to get them securely into the application, and Vault is an amazing tool for that. There are two ways that you can what do you get stuff from Vault: dynamic and static. So dynamic credentials are usually generated by Vault for us, and the static is something that we store into Vault that we can be sure is like safe inside Vault, and there's nothing that will happen. And there are a lot of secret engines. So Vault calls them secret engines. These are the various what do you say, secrets that you can store in Vault. So on the left, you can see the different types of engines, as in the KV store, like we can store just secrets into it, any secret into it, and Vault will store it for us. Then we have PKI for certs, and then we have database, even for Nomad and Consul. So Vault can act as a security provider for Consul and Nomad for the tokens and stuff. So it becomes very easy. Yeah, and we have even for AWS and Google, Azure, we can get credentials dynamically from Vault for all of these. So if you have an application that maybe talks to S3 or something like that, you can get those dynamic credentials from Vault for just that purpose. So Vault is a very useful tool in that aspect. And then here's just a screenshot of an example, right? These are engines that have already been used. So the first one is a PKI engine. Maybe you need certs for a service, right? And then the secrets engine is a KV store when you want to put some stuff in. Excuse me. And like you have database secrets. So you can have a number of them, and this one screen will tell you what all your applications are using. So it's easy for anyone to come and know, okay, what are all the secrets that our applications are using and where are they stored and what are they? So you can go into them and it becomes very easy. It's very user friendly, the whole interface. You can just at one glance know what is happening with your secrets. And then now the services, when you start building any applications, they just increase in number, right? And they slowly become from 1 to 2 to 4 to 5 to 20 very fast. And especially with the microservices architecture, this can become a very huge number. So what Consul helps us with is actually identifying all the services and then finding out if they're healthy or not using something called as health checks. And this will let us know what is happening with our infrastructure, what is running, what is not running, and if they're healthy or not. And also it provides a DNS service which we can use to contact these services as well without much effort. And they also have a plug called Consul Connect, which provides a service mesh. And that is for people who want to bring about zero trust security into their deployments. Yeah, and this is how the UI would look. Here is just an example. So this is a screenshot of if you just run it in dev mode locally, right? This is how it would look, the UI for you. So you would have Consul running, and then Nomad client, Nomad server, and then this is just the Redis cache. So the green tick marks is very intuitive and tells us, okay, that is running, that is up, everything is going well. So this is what Consul gives us. And then we finally have Nomad, which actually manages the lifecycle for us, actually like running our applications, be it a JVM or a Docker image or a binary. It can handle a lot of workloads, and it is very easy to use as well. And it's a single binary. So if you want to play around, just download the binary and you can get started. And so this is the example job that they give you. So if you run Nomad in it, you get an example job file. It's called a job file. It's similar to the Terraform code. It's HCL again. And you can run it. And this is just a Redis container running. And as you can see, this UI tells you a lot of information. It tells you that it's healthy, how many were desired. You can exec into it, stop into it, see the versions, the definitions. Everything is in one place. It becomes very user friendly for understandability. We understand what is happening. And let's see how the job file helps us do this. And I feel the job file is a very important thing and gives us a lot of those features of understandability into the whole setup for us. So this is the task portion of it. So the Nomad job file is divided into a job, a group, and then a task. A task is the actual service that you want to run. So this is an example that I picked up, and there are different drivers, right? I said there's Java, JVM, or a binary, or Docker. You have to specify to Nomad what you want to run. So this is Docker. So we're telling this is the Docker container that you need to run, and so this is the image and some arguments to it, and then what resources you need to allocate, like say 20, or this is in terms of megahertz. So it's like 20 megahertz is the minimum requirement for it. It's something like that you can define. And similarly, it's very easy to give out the network information. So our applications may need to listen on multiple ports for different stuff. So it is very simple for us to define ports. And this is in contrast to how I feel Kubernetes does it, and it's very simple. So if you ever use Docker locally, it is very similar to that. So by default, it's a bridge network, and we know, okay, I am trying to specify a port called load balancer. It will be listening statically at port 889. And and the other two are called dynamic ports. That's another plus point with Nomad, is it allows you to specify dynamic ports so that we can have multiple Docker instances running on the same machine. Uh, and it gives you a lot of flexibility with the network and understandability, because it's just 3 lines, right? We know what is happening. It's not a complicated thing that you have to go through a lot of files to understand what's happening with the network, or what applications running it and what form it's running. And then this is the integration now. So now Nomad can actually link with Consul and Vault to provide a lot more benefits for us. So this is just a simple stanza called the service stanza, which will allow us to link Nomad to Consul. And we just giving it a name, as in what do we want to call it, and then some tags for extra details, and then a port associated to it, and then the health check. So this check endpoint is telling us to hit the DB port and then use TCP to check if it's alive or not. So there are multiple ways we can check into that. And I don't want to go too deep into this. But yeah, then we have the vault section. This is because every application requires a secret, right? Maybe it's database credentials, certificates, or whatever it is. We need a clear way to get it into it. And the vault integration and the template integration, which will come next, makes it very simple. So this specifies the vault stanza, and this is the policies applied to this job, as in these jobs can only be are scoped to these policies. So it's very easy for us to understand how it is talking to Vault. So we know that this application is talking to Vault using these policies. So it only has access to whatever these policies define. Suppose the front end policy is to say certificates for HTTPS, right? So we are telling it, you have access to this, and these are change modes and change signals. So once if something happens and we change those secrets, right, dynamically the job will be restarted with these signals. And then this is done through a thing called templating, and it's a template stanza. And as you can see here, we are getting the with secret, right? Talks to Vault and gets us the API key, for example, here. And then we can even, so we can store Consul, we can use Consul to store configurations and vaults for secrets. And what happens is this paragraph tells you where the configurations lie and where the secrets are, and it's very, what do you say, readable. So we know what is happening from the previous policy of Vault. We know what it has access to, and then with this template stanza, now we know what is going into the container. Yeah, so that was about it. So that Nomad job file gives you complete understandability. Oh, sorry, I've not edited my slide properly. Yeah, sorry about that. That was a slide in between. But yeah, so what this gives us is two HCL files completely give us a view of what is happening from infrastructure in Terraform to the Nomad job file about the actual application running, what is the configuration, what is the secrets, how it is running, what is the network information. It is very clear, and that like saves so much developer time. So we know what is happening, debugging is easy, and we know what is happening. So that is like a huge bonus when you want to start getting to like when you're new to it, right? And you want to start doing it, it's very easy. And it's the opposite of what I feel Kubernetes is, because it feels very complicated, and it's like it has a lot of things that have to be understood before you can get started and stuff like that. This makes it very easy. Yeah, and these are some stuff that you can look into. So if you think you want to use Nomad, right, you can look at these other links to get started and start doing your work. Yeah, thank you. I'm Sachin. I'm a blockchain developer. So thank you. Hope that was entertaining.
Hey, thank you, Sachin. That was a great talk. Seeing all the pieces in one place. Hopefully, people new to HashiStack may be more inclined to, take a whack at it now.
Yeah.
So, any questions for Sachin? Do post them in the YouTube chat. I hope he'll be hanging around for some